You're watching and listening to The Pulse, WV Live, a network that beats to the heart of God, and I am your host, John Fowler. Thank you for joining me today, and good morning to Kathy and Brady and Nellie and Dad. Good morning to you all. Glad to have you tuned in. And we're talking today about your response, how you respond to certain situations and to people who sometimes can be smart aleck or rude. See, our natural inclination might be to reflect and react frustrated and in anger back to them, back to the person that's smart aleck and rude. But see, God wants us to look at things a little different than that. Well, a whole lot different than that. God's called us to respond with grace and kindness. And when you look at Colossians chapter 4 and verse 6, it says, "Let your speech always have grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how ye ought to answer every man." So what happens here is when somebody is smart aleck to you or is rude to you, the best thing to do is to take a deep breath and pause before you respond. My mom used to tell me, she would say, what you have to do is chew your words before you spit them out. And I said, yes, I believe that. So choose your words as you reflect patience and understanding. And one thing that's always good is that when you are having a conversation, repeat back to them what you think they meant. And those things are important that you do. And so I was supposed to get up out of bed just now. That's crazy. My alarm just went off, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've been up for an hour and a half. So you also have to avoid matching their tone or their attitude. You know, not be how they are. And so be low-keyed compared to the person that's being rude or smart aleck or wants to pick an argument. So you remember that a gentle answer turns away wrath. So as you look at this podcast today, the title is Your Response. So responding in wisdom is the key. God's desire for us is to respond with wisdom and discernment in difficult interactions. So Proverbs chapter 15, verse 1, here's what it says. "A soft answer turn away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger." So you have to be careful. You know, I remember Chuck Swindoll years ago, he would say when him and his wife had an argument, he would take a walk. And he said, "Man, I've taken a lot of walks in my life." And everybody just laughed. Wisdom means understanding the situation, choosing words rather than igniting a huge conflict. You know, one thing about it, and I want to encourage you to call people on the phone or get with people face to face when you're dealing with a conflict, because if you're dealing in text, sometimes there is a huge misinterpretation when you text people, and it absolutely can cause an argument, and you have to be real careful. Also, when you are tired, be careful not to start an argument with somebody, because you're more short-tempered when you're tired than you are when you're well-rested. So you have to ask God for wisdom in the moment to handle the situation correctly. These things are important. You also have to evaluate whether the person is hurting and really needs compassion, because a lot of times what happens is that person hurts people because they're hurt. So hurting people hurt people. And so you have to use wisdom, and you also have to avoid those cutting remarks, even if you have a huge temper. I mean, you got to be really careful about those things too. Other people have joined today. Hey, Rick Newcomer, good to have you. Donna Burdette, good having you today. And good to have everyone that's watching today. As we're talking about your response, how you respond to individuals when they may be smart aleck or may be rude. So you have to avoid any conflict at all times. But I will tell you this: don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to say what you mean. And there's people today they will say, well, I should have said this or I should have said that. Well, then you should have, use your seasoned salt words, make sure that all that works. But then you have to be careful how you respond. If that other person tells you what they think, then you should have the opportunity to say what you think. But do it in love, do it in compassion, and do it to help correct. So when you reflect God's character, this is the main thing. God wants us to reflect his character and with all interactions, especially the challenging ones. And this is Romans 12, 17, and 18. It says, here's what we need to do. It's recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men, if it be possible. Not saying that you're gonna have a resolution for every argument or every disagreement. There are people in this world that are not going to like you, and I heard that percentage is 20%. And so if 20% of the people in the world don't like you, that means you got 80% that do. So enjoy those and try to, many times people try to fix the relationships of the people that don't like you. And a lot of times that doesn't work. Our response should demonstrate humility, self-control, and a desire to live in harmony. There's a lady that lives in where one of our church campuses are, and I know she doesn't like me. And this person's been having some health trouble, and I've run into this person several times over the past, I don't know, maybe 6-7 weeks. And I on purpose go up to that person and start talking to them. I'm praying for you. And I am. I really am. How are you doing? Making them talk to me. And most of the time, it's a grunt. How you doing? I don't know. People are just something else. Focus on maintaining a Christ-like attitude even when provoked. People will, let me tell you something. The devil will bait you to try to get you provoked into an argument or a disagreement. And remember that your words are like toothpaste. You cannot put them back into the tube. Once you say it, it's out there. You could lose somebody. You could be working on somebody to get them saved for years, and you could say one thing that would blow it. I'm not saying you should walk around on eggshells, and worrying about what people say. You can't do that. You have to be you. So pray also for the person who has spoke rude to you, and trust that God will honor your prayer and that the efforts would be peaceful when you deal with them. Show love and patience even when it is tough. I mean, when it's tough, it's also best to do it. Good morning, Bishop Donnie Robinette. Glad to have you tuned in today from down in North Carolina. Hope to be down there next week and do some recording with New Salem and enjoy the John 3 center down there. It's beautiful. Can't wait for people to get down there to see it. Also, using the opportunity to witness. Now, this is tough to witness to somebody when they're mad. It's like trying to win somebody to Jesus if they're hungry, and you feed them first, and then you can witness to them. But I will tell you this, if somebody is a smart aleck person, you could still share Jesus with that person. It may not be today, it may be tomorrow, or if they're mad, it may be you may need to give them a couple days. Matthew chapter 5:16. Here's what it says: let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So a kind, calm response can plant seeds of faith in someone's heart. Very difficult interactions I've had over the years with people. And if you're slow to speak, slow to anger, slow to wrath, then you have a chance of displaying God's love instead of flipping them off. Or, how do people act when, hey, Regina, good morning to you. Glad to have you tuned in. How do people act, on the highway? flip you off, or if you aren't moving fast enough, they'll look at you going by. You need to learn to share kind words to people and encourage them with truth and help them through why they feel the way they do. Remember that your behavior can leave a lasting impression. We're talking about smart aleck people, rude people, people that you've rubbed wrong in this world, and how you respond to these people. If you've just now joined us, I encourage you to hit rewind and watch the whole thing, because it'll help you. Trust that God can use your response to make an impact for His glory. It's the way it is in life. That's just the way people are. Church people are the same way. I've been a pastor for 35 years, and I've had people absolutely just lay into you, and I'm thinking, I would never do James Ashworth that way, or Pastor or Dr. James Wright, my mentors, or Rod Taylor, Dr. Rod Taylor, who had a birthday yesterday. Happy birthday to him. Some of these great men and women that I've been able to work with over the years in ministry, and I could not imagine being mean to them. But let me tell you something. Church has changed. People have changed. They're not like they used to be. They will absolutely bump up against you and criticize you. And if lynching was still legal, the rope would be hanging on the roof at the church many times. Now, I'm not saying the Pulse Church. I'm saying in general, because that's what people do. But they'll lynch you on the phone, and they'll lynch you in text, and lynch you on Facebook. And let me tell you something else. Don't voice your opinion on Facebook. Don't be a gutless wonder and say, well, the people next door, if they would just clean up their dog poop in my yard, blah, blah, blah. Go talk to them about it. That's the problem. People will run their mouth behind the scenes and complain about people, but won't address it. And that's what you have to do. I'll tell you who taught me to do that was Mike Spangler from Poca Valley Bank when I worked with Mike. He taught me to have those hard conversations. So if you need additional coaching on that, just let me know, because I'm an expert. I've had a lot of hard conversations with people over the years. I'm just being silly. But if you're not where you need to be and you have hurt in your life, for you to move on, you need to give that hurt to God. You need to give that to Him and let Him carry it. And you say, Father, this person has hurt me so much, and I don't know how to deal with it. Can you help me? Because what you have to remember is that when you have resentment towards somebody, you're taking the poison and you're hoping it kills the other person. And so give that hurt to God. If you're not where you need to be with Jesus, then here's what you do. You say, Father, forgive me of my sins. I ask you to come into my life and live and use me for your kingdom, glory, and your honor. If you pray that prayer today, that means your name is written in heaven. That means angels are rejoicing. There's a party going on behalf of you, and I'm telling you, it's exciting. Michelle, good morning to you. Glad to have you tuned in, and glad to have everybody watching the Pulse WV Live, a network that beats to the heart of God. Hey, let me tell you something. While I've got a captive audience here, don't forget about the book that I wrote. It's a children's book. It's called Frankie the Honeybee. And if you Google Frankie the Honeybee, it'll show up. Or if you go to Amazon.com and just type in Frankie the Honeybee, you have the opportunity to have a children's book that adults also like. And it's about a honeybee that could not fly. Frankie couldn't fly, and he knew that he had a calling to spread sweetness to a bitter world. But, like you say, he couldn't fly. So he prayed to God, tears running down his face, saying, Lord, help me. Well, all of a sudden, his guardian angel shows up, and his guardian angel's name was Ace. And Ace taught him how to fly. So now he's able to spread sweetness to a bitter world. And I get your copy today on Amazon, and get you another copy for somebody else, and it will be a blessing, no doubt about it. I want to thank all the ones that give to the Pulse Church, and if you would like to do that, We're feeding children in Braxton County, West Virginia, where one of our campuses are. And we're feeding 45 children per week on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday so that they're going home after school with food so they don't go hungry. You could text the word PULSE to 1-304-244-3187. Just text the word PULSE, 1-304-244-3187. thepulsechurch.com, give through PayPal. Or also mail your love gift to P.O. Box 141, Gasaway, West Virginia, 26624. Thanks for listening and watching the Pulse WV Live, a network that beats to the heart of God. If you want access to music, preaching, and teaching, download our app. Go to the App Store on your Android or your Apple device. Type in the Pulse WV Live. The Pulse WV Live. Type that in. Gives you access free of charge, courtesy of the Pulse Church. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for listening and watching the Pulse WV Live, a network that beats to the